and welcome back to DUFC's Quaran-Tea Time Q&A. In this video, Lucy Johnson, who is one of the club's highest achieving international fencers, will answer your questions about being a fencer during the lockdown. The video is a bit long, so we put the timestamps for each question in the description below, so you can skip ahead to what interests you the most. I hope you enjoy. Now over to Lucy.
Having a season cut short is always incredibly frustrating. Personally, this is not the first time a season has not gone as planned. So I think 2 years ago, I ended up getting a pneumonia back in November, October time, which basically knocked me for 6. And I had to restart in January with sort of no training at all. And then equally this year, I went over my ankle in January, and all the amazing training that I'd done over the summer for the international season, and I'd gone to the satellites and I built up my experience. Then you get to January, you go over your ankle and everything falls apart. And then I end up going to a World Cup in Barcelona, having been cleared 2 days before by a doctor to be able to like walk on my ankle without a support, for example, that I wouldn't recommend doing. It's like you should recover properly. But so I'm quite used to things just not going according to plan. And every single time it's frustrating, but I think it's frustrating, but things are always going to come up in your life that cut things short, and you're always going to have disappointments. And frankly, you'll have disappointments in life and things that stop you from training. You'll come back and do amazingly. And you'll have it the other way around as well. And I think for me, it's a shame, because I felt like I was getting back into the swing of things, and I trained really hard for the second half of last year to sort of get my standard back up to where I felt I could be. And then I lost it all again over Christmas. So it's sort of restarting again and trusting that some of it was still there. And like, for me, what was quite interesting coming back in sort of February this year, was that I had all the actions and I had all the things I needed in my arsenal, which I'd built in over the past 6 months. I just didn't trust myself to do any of them. So the first 2 competitions was me going, you need to trust yourself, you need to go for these hits, which is such a stupid reason not to do it. So for me, the whole thing about the next competition I was going to do was like, you're going out there and you trust that you've put the work in and you actually go for your hits. And so for me, it's disappointing to go, oh, damn, I'm back to square one again. But I've been at square one before, and I'll be at square one again. And you make a choice each time whether you want to keep going, and it's perfectly acceptable whichever one you choose. But any of us who have fenced will know that, you can be on top of your game and lose stupid matches, and that takes you back to square one, even though you've put the work in. And it's a sport where you loathe it and love it and loathe it and love it, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world. And then a victory comes out of nowhere and you love it again. You basically can't be competition ready in this state, especially as a fencer, like unless you have a pro Hungarian fencing coach as a dad, and even then that's not that much use. I think if all you've got is that, like, the whole beauty of fencing is you have to be training against other people. So I'm being quite forgiving to myself in terms of being match ready when you come out of this. I also think this time is quite unique, and probably the only time we're ever going to get in our lives, or particularly me being a total nutter, is just taking the time to relax and recover and go, okay, my ankles have rolled over each other, and I've been in a cast 3 times in the past, 2 years. Why is that? Probably because I'm not recovering properly. So what can I do to make that better? What foods can I eat to build up my muscle properly? And I think you just have to accept that there's going to be a bit of a period before the competitions start where it's going to be difficult, and you can have some horrible weeks of training where you can't remember anything. But like, even the international circuit is aware of that. They're doing like warm-up World Cups before you've got the Olympic qualifiers. And it's like, well, that makes total sense, because we're all going to come out of this and like, we won't have hit anyone for about 6 months. And you just, especially in fencing, you need that moving target to understand distance, to understand timing. So I think the best thing to do is to forgive yourself, to work on what you want to work on. Like, for me, my footwork is still terrible, so I can work on my footwork. I can work on making my steps smaller. I can work on making them faster. I can work on making my lunge better and not as wobbly. And like, okay, I can do a bit on my point control. with a non-moving target. And apart from that, everything else will just have to come when it comes. The best online training sessions are actually ones where it's basically like a gym session or a footwork session. I think anything beyond that is just quite difficult in terms of people correcting technique unless it's a very small number of people. I've done fencing footwork sessions online, and I've just done workouts online. Personally, I find it difficult to stay engaged in the same way because no one's watching you and you're not accountable in the same way. So I can do a workout class and lift, sacks of flour, but if I want to stop halfway through and pause the video, I can. In a way where like you don't have someone going, no, get up, keep going. So you have to be much more driven to do it. So I try and balance the video workouts with other stuff. So in terms of fencing specific, it's probably the best place to start. I use my local club in the UK, Brixton Fencing Club, to do my footwork sessions. I also just run sessions by myself based on stuff we've done in the past, stuff I know that other clubs have done. I think also what's quite good is to follow your favourite fencers on Instagram, because a lot of them are doing achievable workouts. I'd say like someone like a Max Heinsner who's doing like a backflip to land on a wobble board to throw a can of Red Bull over himself. You're like, okay, maybe that's less achievable than like other fencers who are just doing either sort of I think it's Violetta Koblova, the Russian épéist, has been just posting videos of herself doing various lunge variations, and although that's not a workout video itself, I've been able to create my own workout out of that. So it's just being a bit creative with what you see. Follow your favorite people, follow people that you want to fence more like, and see what they're putting up, because everyone's losing their minds and posting videos. And then I don't know, fitness workouts. I use sort of, I guess, the generic ones in London, just given the sort of the workouts that are created. You've got Cycle, which is actually a spinning class, but they do other workouts, and they're doing a whole bunch of HIIT workouts, like a Barry's boot camp, which is the horrific cardio workouts with a little bit of strength. So I try and do those like once a week if I'm motivated, but a lot of it just comes from sort of making up my own stuff by watching other people, or even like the P with Joe thing, Joe Wicks's thing. I get fun or creative ideas from that, and I think it's really important to have variation, because there's only so many times you can lift a can of beans and find it exciting, frankly. Yeah, so as a coach, a lot of what I've been doing recently is games design, and the whole idea behind that is going, how can you make sport more appealing to people who don't like sport in general? And I found that a lot of this can essentially be carried over to sort of at-home workouts when you're in a very small place and you have to adapt. So the whole basis of designing a game is working out what you want to achieve in terms of an action. So for example, if I was doing a lunge game, what do I need to do that? I need to straighten my arm, I need to move my legs apart, I need to have an explosive action in the back leg. And then the idea of the game, you go, how can I create a circumstance that allows that to happen? Are you throwing a beanbag for someone to catch? Are you creating a line someone has to cross on the floor? And it's all about thinking about how you can create a situation that forces you to do an action and do it well. So I've tried to carry that through into home workouts. So go, if I need explosive actions, but I can't jump up and down repeatedly on the floor, what is the action that I'm trying to achieve? I'm trying to do an explosive jump. What do I need to do that? So for example, instead of jumping up and down and doing squat jumps, I'll jump up the stairs. And usually you can go out into like a public space and do that on stairs. You can go and find a bench in a park, and it's going basically finding different places that you can do a similar action that are going to cause less trouble, and like almost using it as a creative challenge. So if you've got a skinny corridor, what can you do in a skinny corridor? You can do footwork, you can do lunges. The beauty of fencing is that it's quite sort of unilateral, so you don't have to have a lot of wide space. So what works? Can it be the side of your bed? Instead of doing 20 20 steps forward and 20 steps back. Maybe you can only do 4. So what can you do in 4 spaces? Can you see how quickly you can go forward and back in 4 spaces? Can you set yourself mini markers and, you know, work on having smaller footwork rather than other things? It's just, a lot of it is being just creative with the space around you. Look around your room and see what there is. So, you know, you've got it from people like catching toilet rolls on their foil as point work. You know, could you drop a sock down the wall and try and catch it to sort of remember time things? Could you, you know, weights are a great thing. I'm currently like squatting this wooden Indian man. There's just like a statue in this house, and it's like, well, this is the heaviest thing I can find. And it's working with what you've got if you don't have things. And if you've only got a sword, you know, fine. How can you create a lunging pad? Can you get a pillow and a t-shirt and put some markers on it and pin it to the wall? Can you get someone to chuck socks at you and you have to hit them the other way? And it's accepting sort of the unconventional and rolling with it and trusting that everyone is having this problem. Unless they've got their own home gym, then lucky them, but they've probably forgotten their fencing kit or something. So it's basically, it is what it is. And it's being creative and trusting yourself and trusting that the work is still there, and all you need to do is maintain it, even if it's in a sort of reduced format. I have never been someone just to do a singular sport. Personally, I would lose my mind doing the same thing every day. But also I feel like you get different strength and different stamina and different skills from doing different sports. So I don't know if you've ever done it where like maybe you can run 10K, but you can't walk up 2 flights of stairs without losing your breath. And you're like, what? I'm so fit. How does that work? And you go, it's just different fitness. It's different muscle groups you're using. So I think the more you can work everything, the better your chances of sort of making sure that everything's, you know, strong and you've got stamina. So in terms of cross training, I try and put it into sort of categories. So you've got sort of like fitness and stamina. You've got sort of like high intensity cardio stuff, which is really good for horribly intense fencing matches. You've got strength, and then you've got the fencing itself. And I'm a great believer in saying if you just do the fencing itself, you're probably not going to get that far. Because great that you've got perfect technique and you can sort of read people, but if you can't lunge more than about 30 centimeters, then, you know, great, you've got someone opposite you who's got terrible technique, but is unsurprising, and also it's very surprising and can sort of, you know, hit you from 20 meters out. Then it's a different game. So I would recommend, doing as much as you can in different elements, and it's and find, I think the importance of working out a training program is finding what you love and then finding what you have to do to support the things you love. So for me, the things I love are fencing, gymnastics, and sometimes running if I'm on my own and I've got a lot of time to do it. So for me, it's I don't actually like going to the gym. I don't like lifting weights. I find it incredibly boring. I can't stay there for more than about an hour before losing my mind. And I'm different to other people who like, you know, the challenge of getting a heavier weight and seeing how far they do it. So I go, okay, I don't like the gym, but what is going to the gym going to do for my fencing and my gymnastics? If I want to be able to do a standing back somersault, I have to have strong legs. How am I getting strong legs? I'm going to the gym. So I think you have to commit to certain things that are less appealing to you, whether it's going on a run for half an hour a day, whether it's going to the gym to do the stuff you love. If you love ballroom dancing, then don't give it up just for your fencing. Do both, because they'll provide, you know, different footwork skills, different fitness, different stamina, different strength. And especially in this time when, you know, there's more time than we know what to deal with, celebrate the fact that, you know, maybe you can go and revisit, you know, Gaelic football, and like, Christ, I've tried doing a Gaelic football fitness warm up with some of my friends when I was at uni. It's like, I couldn't last 20 minutes because they're so unbelievably fit, but you can take something from every sport and work with it. And that's super important. So I would never just do one sport. Right now, to be honest, I think it's quite difficult to prioritize fencing because I've got a sword and a glove and, you know, a target that, you know, you've made out of a piece of cardboard or something and you stick it on your stairs. so fencing is not what it was. And I think if you try and go fencing for all of this, then you're essentially setting yourself up to fail, because how long do you want to stand and hit a wall? How long do you want to do 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, seek, parry, lunge by yourself? Probably not that long. So you go, okay, I need to do enough of that when I come back, the foundation is there. What else interests me? Do I want to go and try jiu-jitsu? Do I want to go and try and run a 5K? Do I really want to lift 10 kilograms in one hand or something? Whatever it is, find a different goal, try something a little bit different and see what it does for you. But I would always recommend cross training, always, because it's just so freeing as well to be able to use your body in all the different ways. So I trained for a marathon last year, and I could go into a swimming pool and swim 100 lengths without having swum for 9 months. And that is purely because I'd worked really hard to get my fitness up on the running side. And to be able to go, brilliant, I am so capable because I've done cross training. I can get on a fencing piste and I'm never concerned that I have to fence through a whole day if I want to win a medal. I'm not getting to my semi-final and going, I'm so unbelievably fit, I think I'm going to crash and burn. You go, I've done this because I've done my training. And it comes back to that, you can work on your fitness and you can work on your strength. Find something you love that makes you want to do that, or find something you love that allows you to do that as well. If you love swimming, great, it's amazing for everything. If you love ice skating, go and do it as well, because it will make your legs more explosive. It's sort of, I think, accepting what you love and accepting where you might have to work to achieve better things at the things you love. I think fencing is unlikely to change hugely as a result of this, because we're a contact sport, but we're not face to face in the same way as maybe a judo or a taekwondo would be, which is sort of the only reason I can think of why you would start to really have to change rules. Short term, probably things like handshakes aren't going to be allowed, but I think the handshake itself is a pretty fundamental part of society. It's pretty fundamental in terms of things, and it's a sign of respect, and a lot of fencing is about respect. So I can't see any of it changing dramatically. So to be honest, no. I think next season will be interesting, just given the fact that the circuit has to find its feet again. People won't have trained as much. So short term, you might see maybe a couple of wild cards going to an Olympics, or the handshake not being there. But I think long term, it's much more likely that a death in fencing due to a lack of kit would reset the whole system than a virus.
That's it for this video. In the next part of Quaran-Tea Time Q&A, it's Max and Milna's turn to answer your questions about being an international fencer. I hope you enjoy.